An Arizona construction company had a contract for a road resurfacing project near a busy intersection. Sam, the assigned flagger for the project, was responsible for managing traffic flow around the work area and ensuring the safety of both workers and motorists. Unfortunately, Sam never received any formal training in safe flagging procedures from their employer. Instead, another construction worker assigned to the project provided Sam with a brief, 5-minute overview of what he believed were some key points about controlling traffic. On the 5th day of the project, despite the increased volume of traffic caused by a local event, Sam chose not to use a standard stop/slow paddle, opting for hand signals instead. Sam's impromptu gestures confused drivers, causing an unpredictable traffic flow pattern around the work zone. Late in the afternoon, during peak traffic hours, one motorist failed to understand one of Sam's hand signals and continued driving at a high speed directly into the work zone. At the same time, a construction vehicle, unaware of the approaching traffic, moved into the same lane. The sudden appearance of the construction vehicle startled the driver, causing them to lose control of their car, resulting in a severe crash. The driver sustained serious injuries, and the passenger in the vehicle was critically injured. The accident also caused significant delays on the highway, halting roadwork and stalling traffic for several hours. Upon investigating the incident, OSHA determined that the construction company had violated multiple safety regulations. As a result, the company faced substantial fines for its non-compliance, severely damaging its reputation in the industry. Remember, every traffic control flagger should receive comprehensive training for their role, including the correct use of signaling equipment like stop/slow paddles. Additionally, flaggers must take a proactive approach to traffic safety by prioritizing adherence to safety regulations, identifying potential hazards in the work zone, and taking prompt, effective action to correct these hazards. This incident highlights the critical importance of certified flaggers having the appropriate training and communication skills necessary to do their job well. By adhering to OSHA and MUTCD guidelines, receiving regular training, and prioritizing effective communication, flaggers can help prevent serious accidents and ensure the smooth flow of traffic through work zones. A Texas-based road construction company had secured a contract for a sizable resurfacing project on a street featuring a steep hill. Bill, an experienced flagger, was responsible for directing traffic within the work zone. The project required lane closures and an extensive flagging operation to manage traffic in and around the site. The project site was complex, with a narrow side road intersecting the main road midway through the work zone. Throughout the initial planning stages and the duration of the project, however, contractors and workers overlooked this side road entirely. Although the road was paved and marked with lines, workers mistakenly assumed it was unused. No flagger was designated to manage traffic emerging from this road onto the highway, and no signage was installed to warn approaching drivers about the adjacent construction zone. One morning during rush hour, Bill was directing traffic at the beginning of the work zone, focusing on the main roadway. Unaware of the nearby side road, Bill did not notice when a vehicle merged from this road onto the highway, unexpectedly entering the work zone just as traffic began to approach from the opposite direction. Surprised by oncoming traffic in the reduced lane, the merging driver swerved abruptly, colliding with a tree. The accident caused serious injuries to the motorist and significant damage to their vehicle. The incident delayed the project by nearly 4 months, and the construction company also suffered a major blow to its public reputation. OSHA's investigation of the incident concluded that poor oversight during the project's planning stage and the company's failure to ensure adequate signage on the site were to blame. Bill, the site's designated flagger, was also held liable for the accident, even though the fundamental error had occurred long before Bill began directing traffic that day. Remember, comprehensive planning and risk assessment are crucial before starting any flagging operation. This includes identifying all possible points of conflict, such as intersections, but also less obvious sources of traffic like side roads and driveways. Additionally, warning signs and flaggers must be placed at all intersections within the work zone to help manage emerging traffic. Had the motorist received adequate warning that they were approaching a construction zone, they could have chosen an alternative route and avoided the accident. This real-world example highlights the importance of keen situational awareness for traffic control flaggers and thorough planning and risk assessment to prevent construction zone accidents before work begins. By adhering to OSHA and MUTCD guidelines, receiving regular training, and prioritizing effective communication and signage, flaggers can help prevent serious accidents and ensure the smooth flow of traffic for motorists and crew members. On the evening of April 7, at approximately 11 p.m., a worker installing drywall at a construction site suffered a fatal accident while working from a 6-foot mobile scaffold. Needing to reach a new work area, the employee descended the scaffold and attempted to move the entire structure from below by pushing its overhead I-beams. However, the force from the workers pushing caused the entire scaffold to shift and collapse onto the worker from above. The employee was struck on the back of the head by hundreds of pounds of metal scaffolding braces, causing fatal blunt force trauma. They were pronounced dead at the scene. OSHA's investigation of this accident revealed critical lapses in safe scaffold use and worker safety training. Notably, the employer had failed to ensure that employees wore hard hats while working with drywall, exposing them to the risk of serious head injuries from struck by hazards. In this case, a hard hat could have mitigated the severity of the employee's injuries, ultimately saving their life. Further violations resulted from the improper handling of the scaffold's wheels. OSHA requires that all casters and wheels on mobile scaffolds be locked with positive wheel or wheel and swivel locks when the scaffold is stationary. This oversight allowed the scaffold to move under pressure, resulting in the collapse that ultimately proved fatal. Additionally, the employer had failed to provide proper scaffold safety training to their employees. Federal OSHA standards require employers to ensure that workers receive scaffold safety training from a qualified individual so that they can recognize and avoid scaffold-related safety hazards. This lack of training left the worker unprepared for the risks of moving a scaffold incorrectly, contributing to the incident. Lastly, the employer did not report the fatality within OSHA's required 8-hour window, an essential protocol that enables prompt investigation and hazard control. This incident highlights the necessity of comprehensive training, using equipment properly, and adhering to OSHA scaffold safety standards to keep workers safe on the job. Through diligent compliance, employers can protect their workers and prevent future tragedies like this one. On May 15, an employee working on a suspended scaffold platform 12 feet below a bridge's upper roadway suffered a tragic accident. While attempting to climb from the suspended platform back to the upper roadway, the employee lost their grip and fell to another roadway bridge below. The fall caused severe injuries, including fractures to both legs and arms and significant internal injuries. Despite receiving immediate medical treatment, the employee succumbed to their injuries after almost 2 weeks in the hospital. Following an investigation, OSHA identified a critical safety violation related to scaffold access protocols. The employer failed to ensure safe and compliant access to the suspended scaffold, allowing workers to access the platform in hazardous ways, a clear violation of OSHA's scaffold safety standards. The employer had asked workers to park on the upper roadway shoulder, climb over guardrails, and use bridge components like conduit and structural steel members to reach the suspended platform below. This improvised method posed serious fall hazards, exposing employees to considerable risks while moving to and from the work area. OSHA requires employers to provide secure and appropriate access to scaffolding to protect workers from falls, particularly in suspended scaffold operations. Safe scaffold access must include designated entry and exit points, allowing employees to avoid hazardous maneuvers that increase the potential for falls and injuries. This case underscores the critical importance of safe scaffold access on construction sites, especially on bridges and other elevated infrastructure projects. By strictly following OSHA's scaffold safety requirements, employers can ensure that all personnel have safe, compliant access to the work zone, helping prevent similar tragedies in the future. At around noon on December 13, a construction crew was working on a residential house when a tragic incident occurred. One worker had been assigned to paint ceiling beams from an aerial lift platform. To gain additional height for the platform, the worker placed an A-frame ladder on top of the scaffold, a dangerous practice that ultimately led to a fatal fall. While reaching to apply paint to the ceiling, the employee lost their balance and fell from the ladder approximately 10 feet to the unfinished concrete floor, suffering fatal head trauma. OSHA's investigation revealed serious safety violations related to improper scaffold use and significant gaps in employee safety training. The employer allowed the worker to place a ladder on top of a mobile scaffold platform, a practice that is explicitly prohibited by OSHA due to the high risk of instability it creates. Federal standards require stable, secure scaffold setups to prevent falls and ensure that workers have safe access to elevated areas without the need for makeshift extensions. Additionally, the employer had failed to provide their workers with proper safety training on scaffold use. According to OSHA, workers using scaffolds must receive training from a qualified person to recognize and address scaffold-related hazards. The absence of this training meant the worker was unaware of the risks associated with combining a ladder and scaffold for extra height, leading to unsafe work practices. This incident underscores the critical need for strict adherence to OSHA scaffold safety standards in construction. Proper equipment setups and comprehensive training on scaffold use are essential for preventing falls and protecting workers on job sites. By following OSHA regulations, employers can create safer environments that minimize risks and save lives.